I've spent an unholy amount of time studying the violent mess that is the MegaMan timeline, and if there's anything I learned on this journey, is that this world is allergic to peace. Pain and catastrophe are always around the corner. But thousands of years later, where does that leave us? How does this depressing timeline come to an end? Well, that's what we're here to find out. What's going on, class? Welcome back to Honest Gaming History, the series where I yap your ear off about video game history and lore. Today we're exploring the story of one of the darkest series in the MegaMan franchise. Events from previous games are ancient history. Now we follow a whole new MegaMan on his quest to discover the truth about his origins and prevent the end of all life as he knows it. Folks, I am the Black Mastodonchi, and this is the tragic legend of MegaMan Legends. Let's travel back to the mid-1990s. Classic Mega Man was pretty much a veteran at jumping and shooting, while Mega Man X was still getting his feet wet. But series producer Keiji Inafune wanted to start something new. Again. However, this time, he didn't plan to just make another 2D action platformer. According to an interview he had before the launch that the homie Smuppulations translated, thank you again fam, he desired to develop a game that kept the Mega Man flavor, but was totally different. It wasn't just Inafune though. In the Rockman Dash staff interview that was recorded in the Rockman Dash Great Adventure Guide, he stated the idea was conceived by him and Yoshinori Kawano, a fellow Capcom employee who worked on Breath of Fire 1 and 2. Then later, Kazushi Ito, who helped with Mega Man 5, 6, and 7, joined the crew. He was like, guys, this is what we gotta do. Let's make a dope-ass world, right? And just let players explore it. Inafune and Kawano were down, so that became the vibe of the project moving forward. Although they never flat out said it in the interview, it very much sounds like they were trying to create the first open world Mega Man game. To start, these guys did something unheard of. Usually the limitations in hardware and programming were considered before deciding the scope of the story and world. If you got too crazy with your ideas, you could end up with a game that straight up couldn't be developed. This time they said screw that and led with their vision. Inafune always felt that Mega Man was like an anime character, so he went for a more complex story compared to past entries. This was also done to attract older players as he felt the Blue Bomber was still geared towards kids. Guess Mega Man X wasn't hardcore enough at that point. The characters were fleshed out early as well. However, all this ultimately made development even tougher. For one, the team's understanding of Mega Man clashed a lot with these new ideas. Up until now, he was a blue guy who shot lemons and stole weapons. But this new game was way less straightforward. Outside of it being a 3D third-person shooter, adventure and exploration played a bigger role here compared to past titles. RPG elements such as upgradable weapons were added so folks who weren't good at the action aspect of the game could grind up to stand a chance. There was even something like a morality system. Things got so different that Inafune worried fans wouldn't play it because it was far from the Mega Man they knew. Second, even Inafune and his colleagues who created the concept had a hard time explaining it to the programmers. It was challenging to describe what they wanted when they didn't even have a clear picture of where this was all going. And I get it. Nowadays, if you're trying to clarify a game idea, you have a bunch of different examples you can use. But back then, especially when 3D games were still young, there weren't a lot. Speaking of 3D, it didn't help that only one person on the team had experience with 3D games. One. Regardless, Inafune said that throughout the confusion, they were all still set on making a fun game, and they spared no expense to do it. He recruited Yuji Ishihara from the Resident Evil team to work on Reaverbot design so they'd be creepy. Two different teams worked on the above ground and underground environments, so there would be a clear difference between their atmospheres. Additionally, according to an Electronic Gaming Monthly issue at the time, they used motion capture to animate the human characters. They even spent 3 times what they normally did on voice acting, and it shows. It's nothing to write home about, but I can honestly say it's some of the best I've heard in the franchise. However, nothing from this matches the pure artistry of "What am I fighting for?" All in all, Inafune felt like he had built an all-star team for this project. He was so excited about it that before it launched, he planned on putting more of his attention on this series rather than classic Mega Mans or even X's. After roughly 2 years of development, the game dropped under the name Rockman Dash on December 18th, 1997, a day after Mega Man's 10th birthday. Now, we all know what the first part means, but what about Dash? Well, according to a special feature in Cap, Volume 5, it was chosen for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's an acronym that stands for Dig Outers Adventure Story in Halcyon days. In the game's world, Dig Outers or Diggers are treasure hunters. Halcyon is a term that usually refers to a more serene and peaceful time from the past. So the title basically said that players would witness Dig Outers go on a grand adventure during the good old days. We'll all be questioning that good old days part once we get into the lore, but that's besides the point. The second meaning is more straightforward. With this game, the world and Capcom were dashing into a new era of Mega Man. Funny enough though, before that name, they wanted to call it Rockman Neo. Similarly, over here in the West, we started with Mega Man Neo, but that name didn't really hit. So Capcom changed it to Mega Man Nova. That almost became the official title, but due to copyright, they changed it again at the last minute to Mega Man Legends. When it comes to the game's reception, overall, it was reviewed positively by critics. Can't speak for its N64 and PC ports, but the original PlayStation version was praised for successfully moving Mega Man from the 2D world to 3D. The adventure aspect as well as the pure depth of the game pleased audiences. As for the critiques, most of them were about the janky movement controls. The PlayStation controller didn't have two analog sticks at first, so players had to use the R2 and L2 buttons to change the camera's angle. A review from GamePro also mentioned that the story's kiddie tone wasn't doing it much favors either. And I have opinions about that we'll get into later. The game did well enough to lead to a spin-off title in the Misadventures of Tron Bonne, a sequel in Mega Man Legends 2, and even a mobile game that only released in Japan titled Rockman Dash Great Adventure on 5 Islands. There was a moment when it looked like we were going to get Legends 3, but unfortunately it got cancelled, leading to one of the biggest upsets in gaming history. During 2007's Tokyo Game Show, Inafune elaborated a bit on why he felt the first Legends didn't do as well as expected. Quote, "It was a bit too early for its days. Ever since then, people started saying that Inafune's ideas are 7 or 8 years too early. It was a sandbox style of game, kind of like Grand Theft Auto. One has Yakuzas and the other has robots, but it's kind of like the same. If we made it at the present time in modern quality, I believe that it would have sold a lot better." And I agree. While going through the history of this game's development, I could feel how inspired and creative the team was. It reminded me of their energy when the first and second classic Mega Man games were being made. Inafune even called Legends his favorite game in the franchise, so you know the problem wasn't lack of passion. However, just like the team feared, the drive to make something so different screwed them over in the end. From what I can tell, Mega Man fans were used to a game with direction. The classic Mega Man series involved him saving the world by fighting evil robots. The X series was pretty much the same, but with a more intricate story. Legends gave you clear objectives, but it wasn't as linear. You could focus on the story, go exploring to see the many mysteries of Catalog's Island, grind through the ruins to gain stronger weapons. There was a lot. I didn't play it when it first came out, but thinking about the games that were available at the time, I can only imagine how overwhelming or honestly unorganized that might have felt. Nevertheless, I believe Mega Man Legends is one of those games that you can't ignore when it comes to the evolution of the industry. Inafune and the squad had an idea, and even though the finished product wasn't clear at first, they managed to make something special. When compared to some of the other titles in the franchise, I don't know. I see a level of love that I didn't really see before. Like, the team genuinely tried their best. And I can't say it inspired the whole sandbox genre, but I'm sure it laid the groundwork for a lot of similar titles. But now, fam, it's time for lore. Let's get into the final chapter of the main Mega Man timeline. Welcome to the Halcyon days. Throughout the timeline, most of the different Mega Man series were a few centuries apart. But Legends takes place thousands of years after the ZX series. According to Mega Man Legends Station, an invaluable source of information for these games, everything occurs during the 5100s. The planet, dubbed Terra, has been covered by water. Its inhabitants built communities on the different islands formed and began using airships and boats as their primary means of travel. Their energy source? Powerful artifacts known as quantum refractors or deflectors. However, acquiring them isn't easy, as the main way to find them is by exploring these mysterious underground ruins filled with dangerous machines known as Reaverbots. The brave souls who choose to search these places are known as diggers or dig-outers, and the ones that guide them are called spotters or operators. But if you have folks who are down to find this limited resource, then you're gonna have folks who are down to steal it. These guys are known as air pirates. Now, if you watch my ZX video or are familiar with the ZX games, these two factions sound very similar to the Hunters Guild and the Raiders from ZX Advent. The Hunters investigated the dangerous outlands to find treasure from the past and hunt down mavericks, but they usually went on these missions at the behest of clients. On the other hand, the Raiders were illegal hunters who sought these artifacts for themselves and would go through much more underhanded means to get them if necessary. It's very possible that though those groups dissolved, they inspired generations of treasure hunters, which eventually led to the formation of the Dig-Outers and pirates. Over time, rumors began to spread about a legendary artifact dubbed the Motherlode. It was said that it could provide endless energy or maybe cause a world disaster. But maybe isn't enough to deter the Dig-Outers or the pirates, so many have spent countless years searching for it. Now this is the part where I'd get into the story of Legends, but first, we gotta talk about the Bonnes. Although The Misadventures of Tron Bonne was released after Legends, it's actually a prequel that takes place a year before the game. The Bonne family is composed of Teasel, his younger sister Tron, and their baby brother Bonne. Okay, so I don't know how babies work in this world, it's been thousands of years so a lot could have changed, but Bonne is fucking huge. However, judging by the fact that nobody really questions his size, I guess babies can just look like this now? Like, do they become smaller and more optimized as they age like real technology? I don't know. The siblings lost their parents a while back, and now they make a living sailing the skies looking for booty. But don't get it twisted. These guys may be criminals, but they're not necessarily bad people. They have morals and genuinely care about each other. Think of them as Jesse, James, and Meowth from Team Rocket. They're the comical villains who may annoy you sometimes, but you can't help but like them. There's also the Servbots, the family squadron of robotic servants. They're competent sometimes, but when they do mess up, Tron throws them into something she calls her torture room for punishment. Also, I have no proof of this, but I firmly believe that these little guys walked so the minions from Despicable Me could fucking sprint, bro. Like, look at these two. Seriously, look at these two and tell me you don't see the similarities. I can't be the only one. Anyway, the Misadventures of Tron Bonne begins with Tron and her Servbots completing the family's new ship, the Gesellschaft. By the way, all if not most of their machines were given German names. The title of their ship is related to the German sociologist Ferdinand Tönnies. He's most famous for his use of Gemeinschaft und Gesellschaft, meaning community and society, to explain the nature of social systems. Also, going forward, y'all know me. If I pronounce anything incorrectly, I'm sorry, and please correct me in the comments. Thank you. So their ship is finished, but unbeknownst to Tron, Teasel had to borrow money from this loan shark named Lex Lowe to get the parts for it. It's aight though, he's got a plan. By paying more money, he found out about this legendary refractor dubbed Diana's Tear, which is said to be located in the Nakai ruins, so he and Bonne head out to find it. In the process, Glide, one of Lowe's goons, runs up on them, telling Teasel to pay up. They're out of time. And for all my Battle Network fans out there, Glide should sound familiar. Glide.exe is Yai Ayanokoji's netnabby. His design's based on this Glide, but this one's way more of a dick. Teasel tries telling him about their plan to collect Diana's Tear, but he's not trying to hear it. He gives them the hands and kidnaps them. They're gonna have to work to pay off their debt. Worried about her brothers, Tron goes looking for them and finds out they've been captured. They need 1 million zenny to pay what they owe. So she hops in her mech Gustav and sets out to get the bread the only way she knows how: committing crimes. She robs the vet, the bank, and even steals cargo from different ships in the dock. Granted, the vet thing was an accident because the Servbots messed up, but still, those animals didn't deserve any of that shit. On her crime spree, a timid police officer named Denise tries stopping and detaining her. But even though she's strong enough to judo throw Tron's mech, she always fails. Tron isn't a complete menace throughout this game though. She also does some non-criminal tasks like exploring ruins for artifacts. It's actually possible for her to find Diana's Tear and sell it like her brother planned to. Once she makes the money she needs, she pulls up to Lex, but he tells her the price doubled because of interest, so she's kicked out to scrounge for more bread. Once she makes the 2 mil, she pulls up to the scammer again, but he raises the price again, and this time he doesn't even let her go collect it. He just throws her into his personal prison. There she finds Teasel, who tells her what's really going on. Lex never planned on letting them go. He's been doing this to multiple dig-outers to trap them into permadeath. They've all been working it off by digging up this ancient treasure known as Colossus and the golden refractor that powers it. It's said that whoever uses it will be able to rule the world. You know, basic villain shit. Luckily, the Servbots come in clutch. Tron's favorite one leaves the crew in her stead and pilots the Gesellschaft to reach them. But before they leave, Homegirl wants her revenge, cause if you fuck with the Bonnes, you gettin' robbed. They break into the room holding Colossus, but they're stopped by Glide. With the help of Bonne, they jump him, but the guy gave his boss just enough time to activate the ancient treasure. The Servbots pulled through again though. They managed to destroy it and take the refractor. However, regardless of how much these two goons played her, Tron doesn't just leave Lex and Glide for dead. In an act of kindness, she gives them to Denise without her noticing so she can take all the credit for arresting them. Her boss has been making her life a living hell because of her failure to catch Tron. So this was the mechanic's way of making it up to her. It's a good thing too, because her boss was one screw up away from letting her ass go. Teasel commends Tron for this gesture, but she just brushes it off as business. Sadly though, the Bonnes don't get to have their perfect ending. While cleaning their ship, the same Cerbot that led the rescue mission accidentally threw out the giant refractor they collected, so they're forced to stop and look for it. Now the poor guy's gotta get his ass beat in the torture room. You hate to see it. With that, the mechanic's epic quest for money comes to a close. Now let's move a year in the future to talk about the protagonist of this story, MegaMan Volnutt. But first, enjoy this quick commercial break. MegaMan Legends, honest gaming history. Yo, what's going on guys? Just want to step in real quick to give a few announcements and honestly, just thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this MegaMan series. I'm usually guilty of starting up series and never really finishing them. Though it's not completely done, you can count this as like a mid-season finale, I guess, since there's still Battle Network and Star Force, which I will cover. When I say finale, I mean, you know, this is just the end of the classic of the robot MegaMan timeline. We still got to talk about computer science MegaMan with Battle Network and Star Force in an alternate universe. Just want to make that clear, which is why I'm not mentioning it in this timeline. Alternate universe. All right, thanks out of the way. Just want to give a few updates on like where things are going. I'm gonna be super quick about this. A lot of people are asking what happened to the webtoons. The webtoons are now on Don'tchi the Reader, as well as the streams, but I'll always stream on Twitch. And then I also have gaming streams that I keep the VODs on my gaming channel, which is Don'tchi64. So just to be clear, Black Master Don'tchi, big ass videos like this, Don'tchi the Reader, webtoon reactions, Don'tchi64, video game VODs, and stuff like that. Alright? Cool? Cool. And now the last thing I want to say is, you know, I plan to continue just making dope-ass videos like this and just improve on what I can do. If you would like to support, you know, we got the merch out there, the Kaizen collection is new. It's out, my best set yet. Check it out on the don'tchiverse.com. Link is in the description. You could also support by joining the guild. I have honestly been slacking a little bit on there, but I'm coming back hot with a bunch of comic reactions with stuff that I want to read, but I can't really read on the Don'tchi the Reader channel. So yeah, I want to do all that on the website. Be there or not be there. You know, the other good way to support the channel is, you know, liking, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff. So if you're enjoying the video, like and subscribe. All right, I'm gonna stop taking up your time. Back to the video. MegaMan Legends, let's go. MegaMan Legends, honest gaming history. Unlike the past MegaMan who fought against evil robots for a better world, MegaMan Volnutt is a simple dig-outer. He's 14 years old and doesn't know much about his past. For as long as he can remember, he's lived with his trusty spotter and tech genius Roll Casket, her grandfather Barrel Casket, and his mysterious monkey sidekick Data. Y'all may think he's just some cute dancing animal robot thing now, but by the end of this chapter, you're gonna have a lot of questions for Data. I can't say much now cause spoilers, but y'all remember the explanation I gave about why Rockman Dash was called Rockman Dash? Well, that came from something called the Special Dash Lecture. And guess who Capcom called to give said lecture? Fucking Data. The feature even went as far as calling him a dancing encyclopedia on the world of Dash. To put that in an official Capcom newsletter seems pretty intentional to me. Anyway, the title begins with MegaMan finding a refractor within some random ruins. After collecting it and confronting a giant Reaverbot, he's saved by Roll on their ship, the Flutter. But Barrel lets them know that there's a problem in the engine room. If they don't land now for repairs, they'll crash. So they stop on the nearest massive land, Catalox Island. The first order of business is to find parts for their ship, so MegaMan heads to a junk shop owned by a dig-outer spotter couple. However, the woman tells him that her husband went out on a dig and never returned. Homie's too old to be digging by himself, so our boy heads out and rescues him. Unfortunately though, they don't have what he needs. They recommend searching through the ruins around the island, and to pay him back for reuniting them, they give him their old van. Roll fixes it up so traveling around the island is easier. But just as things are looking a little up, MegaMan hears word of pirates heading to town. Barrel is still there, so he heads in to look for him. He finds him in town hall with the mayor, Amelia. She used to be Barrel's assistant when he was a professor. Now they're catching up and talking about a legendary treasure that's hidden here. They surmise it's what the pirates are after. However, it's said that if this treasure is unlocked, a terrible disaster will occur. The mayor's not trying to have that, so Barrel tells MegaMan to check on Roll while they decide what to do. Now just to be clear, this legendary treasure is not the Mother Lode. Because the game's intro mentioned it, I thought it would be a focal point for this part of the story, but the motherlode doesn't become important until Legends 2. Pretty strange choice to put it in the intro when it could have just been mentioned in-game through dialogue or something, but I digress. On his way to Roll, he runs into the homie Tron getting chased by a dog named Paprika. Out of the kindness of his heart, he calms it down and shoos it away. However, in the Japanese version, you have the option of kicking the poor animal. Doing so would make the dog scared of you and lower your ethics score. That's the morality system I mentioned earlier. MegaMan started with 128 points, and certain good actions would increase it, while certain bad ones would do the opposite. The lower it got, the darker his armor became. Outside of that and making the townspeople talk shit about him, it doesn't really affect the game much. I just find it funny how this game had a morality system all along, when in my ZX video, I said it'd be cool if Capcom made a Mega Man game with one. I know I'm asking for a lot here, but this makes me think about how cool it'd be if this game got remade to focus on this aspect. What if it was like Infamous and the choices you made, good or bad, actually affected the plot? Anyway, with the dog gone, Tron gets a good look at her savior, and she's kinda feeling my boy. But she's tsundere as hell, so she's like, "Get away from me, Baka! It's not like I like you or anything!" He then finally makes it to Roll. But they peep the rest of the Bonds entering the city. They both rush in cause Gramps is still in there. The cops stop them, but our boy Mega Man pushes through saying he's got this. He's met by the pirate family's first line of defense, the Servbots. They try to hold him off with Bloombears and Drux, both of which were also given German names. In the Japanese version, the Bloombear is named the Brumbear. It roughly translates to grumbling bear, and was a nickname the Allied forces gave the German-made Sturmpanzer in World War II. On the other hand, alright, I'm gonna try to pronounce this. Drachach, I think, translates to dragon. That's why they're red flying ships, and I'm guessing also why Teasel calls them drakes.
Order the drakes to go to yellow alert and stand by.
After taking out the grunts, chaunches up for the ones in her mech, the Feldinat. Its Japanese name translates to Ferdinand, which is the first name of the German sociologist I mentioned before. Before they fight though, Tron tries recruiting Mega Man. Like, girl, I know you like him, but that's a bold ass first move. He obviously rejects her, then proceeds to deliver them hands. And homegirl can take a hit. She got anime thrown out of her mech and set up like everything was fine. She even commends Mega Man for his strength. Then she hits him with the good ol' "I'll get you next time" and leaves with their Servbots. Afterward, we get a news report explaining that the mayor is held up in Town Hall. The Bonds are demanding that she give them the keys to all the caves and tunnels underneath the island. That way they'll have no problems finding this legendary treasure. The mayor refused, but she's running out of time since the cops can't do shit against the Bonds. Really crazy how these guys are trying to stop Mega Man when they can barely handle a couple of pirates. Fortunately, our boy in blue rushes in just in time. He takes out more of their weapons and then faces Bonne. By the way, the Japanese voice actor for this Bonne is Ikue Otani, the same one who does Chopper and Pikachu. The more you know. Mega Man handles this pirate too, and with that, the town is saved. However, the Bonds aren't done yet. Teasel was watching from the sidelines. After thinking about the well-being of his siblings, he decides that they'll just go digging for the treasure themselves. Meanwhile, the mayor grants Mega Man a Class B dig-out license as thanks for saving the town. With it, he can explore the restricted ruins on the island. It'll be easier to find parts for the Flutter this way. But before he goes looking for them, he agrees to help the police apprehend the Bonds. He travels to the Closer Woods and finds Teasel using a giant robot named the Marlwolf to dig for him. In the Japanese version, it's named Malwerf, which is German for mole. After Mega Man takes out the giant machine, Teasel dips. When he reconvenes with his family, they agree to put all their focus on taking down Mega Man first. With another favor complete, the mayor calls our boy in for even more help. Not like he has to fix his ship or anything. She tells him that though the legendary treasure may just be a story, it's not worth the risk of someone finding it and causing a great disaster. Plus, strange things have been happening in the ruins. Reaverbots are activating on their own, so she gives our hero access to the larger ruins on the island and asks him to investigate while on his digs. She also requests that he donate any extra materials he finds to help rebuild the town. Mega Man accepts, then finally embarks on the main quest for this game. There are 3 major subgates on the island. These are the towers that give dig-outers access to the ruins. The first one Mega Man and Roll head to is in Cardon Forest, but on the way, they run into more Servbots. Tron is working on a new robot, so they're buying her time. Well, trying to buy her time. Once he's done with them, he enters the subgate and finds a yellow refractor. He brings it back, hoping that it'll be able to fix their ship, but Roll tells him it's too small. Sucks for them, because the next subgate is in Lake Jiun. With no way to fly there, they decide to get a boat. They head to a boathouse owned by someone named Wily. And calm down, this Wily's cool. Outside of looking like the old doctor, I don't think they're related in any way. and even if they were, it's been thousands of years. I don't even think that evil bloodline matters anymore. But unfortunately for them, all but one of the man's boats were stolen by the Bonnes, and that one boat is broken. Luckily, Roll is able to fix it with the refractor they got. They travel to the subgate, but the Bonnes show themselves again. After Team Volnutt breaks through their first wave, the pirates reveal what Tron stole all those boats for. She used their material to build this giant, weird-looking submarine called Balkan Jareed. Now, according to the MegaMan knowledge base, the Prima Game strategy guide for this title mistranslated some of the Bonne's robots' names because they didn't know they were German. Apparently his correct name is Balkongerät, which is German for balcony device. I couldn't find any official information proving that, but balcony device does make sense. After an arduous battle on the sea, Team Volnutt comes out on top once again. But the Bonnes aren't all that mad. In fact, Tron's feeling pretty optimistic and still believes they'll get him next time. Teasel appreciates the positive attitude, but deep down, Homegirl has no idea why she's so okay with MegaMan handing them constant L's. The obvious answer is that she likes him, but honestly, look at MegaMan's face, bro. They went in on the happy-go-lucky shonen boy vibes with this guy. Dude knows nothing about his past, but almost always looks elated to be alive. If he kicked my ass, I wouldn't be able to stay mad at him either. Regardless, the Bonnes later decide to wait until MegaMan unlocks the main gate, the place holding the legendary treasure. Then they'll rob him. Simple. With the pirates gone, MegaMan enters the subgate and finds a red refractor. But before he can leave the ruins, he must face the Reaverbot Garu Doriten. The MegaMan knowledge base says that this boss is most likely based on Gold Lighten from Golden Warrior Gold Lighten. Funny enough, both MegaMan Volnutt and Gold Lighten appeared in the crossover fighting game Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Random, don't-chi tangent, but it's sad that people don't talk about TVC as much because it was mad fun. If you've never heard of it, please watch that fire-ass opening before you watch the gameplay. That shit was legendary. Anyway, using the red refractor, they finally fixed their ship. Now it's time for the third subgate. It's located in Closer Woods, and Barrel theorizes that it's some kind of key to the main gate. Once they get there, MegaMan finds a terminal with an odd message.
Operations Room 2. Emergency system activation requires direct password input from Eden or the insertion of 3 level 2 or higher prototype Anthro unit ID cards.
Okay, so a shit ton of plot just dropped out of nowhere. However, the important part of this scene is the mention of prototype Anthro units. In the Japanese version, Originaru Ito Unito is used, which translates to original human unit. In case you don't remember, in the ZX series, humans were upgraded with mechanical parts to put them on par with Reploids. Thus, all humans and human-like Reploids were dubbed humanoids. However, in the Japanese version of those games, Hito was used to describe them. So when this message says prototype Anthro units, we could assume they're talking about humanoids. The ZX series implies that all, if not most, of the human population went through this special surgery. So it makes sense. Shout out to Rockman HQ for that tip, by the way. Plus, even though the Zero series and ZX series came out after the Legend series, the team behind them, Inti Creates, still saw Legends as the finale of the Mega Man timeline. So things like humanoids were most likely established to build a connection between these games. Back to the terminal, Mega Man doesn't have a password from Eden, so he goes searching for the ID cards. On the way, Roll talks to him about the origins of the Reaverbots. She wonders about their creator and if digging counts as stealing from them. And that's a valid thought. For all they know, these things are sentient and just trying to protect these refractors. Meanwhile, dig-outers run up in their crib to rob them, while spotters held them from the sidelines. So in essence, everyone's a pirate, whether you're a spotter, dig-outer, or whatever. After finding all the ID cards he needs, he returns to the terminal. As Barrel expected, the IDs unlock the main gate, meaning it's time for the final mission. Kinda. On the way to the tower, they run into the Bonnes. Team Volnutt unlocked the main gate, so now they gotta get robbed. They battle it out in the air, and our heroes dish out them sky hands. But the Bonnes return for round 2 in their new Focke-Wulf. According to the Mega Man knowledge base, this was another one that was named incorrectly. The Prima strategy guide called it the Fokker-Wulf, which still sounds pretty similar. And of course, this is another German reference. Focke-Wulf was the name of a German aircraft manufacturer during World War II. But that doesn't do shit for the Bonnes, because Mega Man and Roll destroy their new ship too. It spirals out of control and explodes mid-air without any sign of the family ejecting. The two just want to stop them, not kill them, so they're left wondering if they went too far. Once they reach the main gate, they find out they'll need another 3 keys to proceed. To get them, Mega Man unlocks the sub-cities on the island. These are the underground environments that the prototype Anthro units used to inhabit. Early in his search, he ends up running into the Bonnes again. Tron is pissed cause they almost died, but I mean, they initiated the dogfight. How you gonna start shit and then get mad when you get bodied? Either way, our boy MegaMan is just happy they're alive. This leaves Tron flustered, but it doesn't mean they're cool. She regroups with her family and they pop out with their strongest mech yet, Theodore Bruno. Bruno was a German name that comes from Bruna, which means armor or protection. Theodore is of Greek origin and means God's gift, meaning Theodore Bruno roughly translates to armor of God. To all my Theodores out there, you're welcome for the confidence boost. So the Bonnes and MegaMan duke it out once again, and our favorite pirate family takes another L. But this time, they truly accept defeat. They all commend MegaMan for his strength and leave him be. Tron even worries if she'll ever see him again. But Tizo's like, nah, fuck all that. Let's just let him get to the treasure, and then we'll rob him. Speaking of getting robbed, I forgot to mention that there's a side quest in this game where you help the cops chase down the servbots for robbing a bank. After you stop them, you have the option of keeping the money or returning it. If you keep it, not only do you lose mad ethics points, but you also screw over the servbots. The money they had was borrowed, not stolen. So if you're one of the folks who kept it, nice job for throwing the servbots into massive debt, dick. Nah, I'm kidding, that's mean. But it's still pretty messed up though, you gotta be honest. Anyway, with the Bonnes out of the way for now, Team MegaMan collects the final 3 keys from the subsidies. Now it's time for the final mission. Using the keys, he unlocks the Watcher, Sleeper, and Dreamer doors in the main gate. But after, he feels strange. Not only does this place seem familiar to him, but he senses danger. Enter MegaMan Juno, the bureaucratic unit in charge of Catalog's Island. Once he takes a look at MegaMan, he recognizes him as the Purifier unit MegaMan Trigger, not MegaMan Volnutt. This leaves Homie hella confused. Surprisingly, even Juno's confused. If MegaMan doesn't remember who he is, then why did he wake him up? But after he peeps the map of Catalogs in the room they're in, he reveals something wild.
Your reason for coming here is to purge the carbons that have overpropagated during the time I was inactive.
Carbons? Purge? What are you talking about?
According to Urban Military Security Ordinance A10, the number of carbon units is not allowed to increase beyond the pre-specified limit. If this happens, they are to be purged immediately. My observation, if left unattended, the carbons will reproduce indefinitely. Their numbers will grow, polluting the surface world. They can be quite a nuisance.
Carbons? Do you mean the people on the island?
So in layman's terms, the beings that make up the surface world of Terra are artificial humans known as carbons or decoys. They were created by something called the Master System. Don't worry, all this will be explained in more detail later, I promise. MegaMan Volnutt / Trigger is a Purifier unit, a soldier of the system whose responsibility is to hunt down aberrant units. We'll get into that later, but if you couldn't already tell, Purifier units seem to be the successors of Maverick Hunters from MegaMan X. As a bureaucratic unit of this system, MegaMan Juno is in charge of the carbon population on Catalog's Island. Once it passes a certain threshold, it's time to reinitialize. This involves purging all the carbons using the space station Eden. So this whole time, throughout this whole game, MegaMan and the Bonnes were racing to activate a device that could delete all of them. Well, all of them minus MegaMan. That's an insane twist, but I have a problem with it. The timing of this plot dump is just off. To explain, let's talk about MegaMan Zero for a second. Throughout the first 2 games in that series, Zero continuously battled with his identity. Was he the same Zero that his friends saw him as, or was he just a faker? Then all that came to a head when in the 3rd game, it was revealed that he had Zero's soul but not his body. That twist hit crazy only because the series made sure to build up to it. Even Zero 3 on its own dropped little hints early on with Wild saying shit like, I wonder how you'll fare in that body. In Mega Man Legends, the main hits we got of this bigger picture were the mayor saying how this legendary treasure could lead to a disaster, and the quick mention of Eden and prototype Anther units in the 3rd subgame. That's a good start, but it just isn't enough to set up this big reveal, especially when the story seemed lighthearted up until now. They could have made each subgate reveal some kind of clue after completion. Maybe have Mega Man figure out where to go next due to receiving random parts of his memory as the game progresses. I'm not saying you gotta give away the twist before the big reveal, but there needs to be a healthy balance of sharing and withholding info. When there isn't, the moment kinda falls flat. In this case, it feels like they were unsure of this much darker backstory and didn't decide to go 100% with it until later in development. This is only my assumption, but maybe the worry of this not feeling like a Mega Man game made Inafune want to play it safe at first. Then later on he was like, fuck it, let's go crazy. Either way, MegaMan Juno is about ready to kill everyone on Catalox. He traps MegaMan Volnutt, then leaves to activate Eden. Luckily for our blue hero, the bonds have been lurking this whole time, and they heard everything. They free him and encourage him to stop Juno, cause they're not trying to die. As MegaMan chases after the final boss, he finds a giant refractor. Then he runs into Data. The monkey says that he'd hoped they could just live peacefully with the caskets, but they've gotta do what they gotta do. He even asks that there may be a lot MegaMan doesn't know, but what's important now is to stop Juno. As sus as that sounds, our boy leaves it be and just pushes on. He confronts the Island Destroyer but finds out that Eden has been activated. It'll take 5 minutes for reinitialization to begin. So he fights Juno till the guy's forced to go into his Reaverbot-like second form. Makes you wonder if the creator of MegaMan Juno and the Reaverbots are the same. After our boy takes him down, the emotionless menace reveals that it doesn't mean shit. They fought long enough for Eden to get into range. Now everyone on the island is about to die. And it's all MegaMan's fault. He didn't even manage to get rid of Juno. The guy backed himself up to Eden, so shooting him now will do absolutely nothing. Frustrated, MegaMan waits for the inevitable. But Data pops in and says this.
Interrupt command. Priority command rerouted to Purifier First Class MegaMan Trigger. Under suspicion of malfunction, Bureaucratic Model 3rd Class Juno has been deactivated by MegaMan Trigger as per Ordinance 103. MegaMan Trigger hereby requests the indefinite postponement of the previous reinitialization order and the deletion of Bureaucratic Model Juno's backup data. Trigger hereby assumes all bureaucratic authority for the district and will petition Mother for guidance at a future date.
With that, Catalox Island is saved. But Data just dropped a shit ton of plot. So MegaMan asks him straight up if he knows who he is. However, instead of answering his question, the monkey tells him that he's his peripheral memory storage device. A while ago, the kid created him so that his memories couldn't be scanned by someone he calls Mother. He can't tell him anything yet, but soon he'll be able to tell him everything. Now in hindsight, this was most likely meant to set up Legends 2. But from a lore perspective, it makes you wonder what Data's true intentions were. If Data has MegaMan's memories, then wouldn't he have known about the main gate or at least recognize the doors within it? Why did he let these guys go so far when the treasure was actually going to lead to catastrophe? Well, hold on to that thought because we're going to circle back to it in the next game. And as cringe as it may sound, the answer will shock you. But after all that, MegaMan returns to Roll and Barrel. They ask him what went down on the main gate, but he brushes it off as nothing. Don't know why you'd lie about that, but okay. Then Roll says that she'll always believe in MegaMan, which is crazy because he just lied to her face. Either way, their adventure on Catalox Island is done. They say their goodbyes to the townspeople and then head out to continue their search for the Motherlode. Meanwhile, the Bonds manage to escape the main gate with the giant refractor, so they're about to make mad bread. With that, MegaMan Legends concludes, but now it's time for the plot to really cook. Let's move on to Legends 2. Alright, so before we get into it, we gotta touch on a demo and a MegaMan Legends mobile game. See, the Misadventures of Tron Bonne came with a demo of MegaMan Legends 2, but in Japan, that demo was its own thing dubbed Rockman-2 Episode 1. It came with 4 different missions that didn't add much story, but the 4th one shook out to me. In it, Tron captures Roll and once again demands that MegaMan join the Bonds if he wants her back. The game gives the player the option to choose, and if you say yes, you get this wild scene of MegaMan and Tron frolicking about while Homie seemingly shoots at innocent people. Luckily, that was just a vision, because whether you say yes or no, MegaMan denies her request. So they fight, and he eventually gets to the crate holding Roll. However, he finds out she was already saved by Data. Wait, Data? How? Then there's a mobile game, Rockman Dash Great Adventure on 5 Islands, which is another Japan-only title that launched in 2008. In it, MegaMan and friends just explore 5 islands and collect artifacts. That's about it. I'm not sure in which order these titles occur, but the important part is that they both happen between Legends 1 and 2. Now we can get to the core of this chapter. It's been a year since Team Volnutt's adventure on Catalox Island. Now we find Barrel Casket and his old friend Werner von Blucher preparing to enter this place called Forbidden Island. It's said that this is where the Motherlode lies, but there's a thick storm covering it that makes it nearly impossible to enter. The majority of the folks who managed to never returned. 30 years ago, Casket and Blucher actually made it on, but they lost consciousness and were mysteriously brought to a nearby town. Then 20 years later, Casket's daughter and Roll's mother, Matilda, decided to check the place out with their husband, Banner. She was inspired by her father's dig-out stories and wanted to succeed where he failed. Which reminds me, Barrel wasn't just a well-renowned dig-outer. He was the well-renowned dig-outer. The streets used to call him Barrel the... To help, Banner invented something called a dropship, which could withstand the island's intense atmosphere. However, the outcome for these two was a lot worse than Caskets and Blukers. Things went all kinds of wrong, and they've been missing ever since. Now Beryl and his former partner are going back for round 2, but this time, they're way more prepared. While Gramps was adventuring with his granddaughter and MegaMan, Blucher was building his money up to invest in this giant ship dubbed the Sulphur Bottom. Not only will it be able to brave the storm, but it also holds a ton of civilians who want to see the motherlode for themselves. Yeah, the guy's feeling so confident about this attempt that he thought it'd be a good idea to bring more folks to this dangerous-ass place. Beryl, on the other hand, can't help but feel uneasy. For one, the island took his daughter and her husband. And two, finding the motherlode was Roll's dream. She thought if she did, she could find her parents or at least get answers about their disappearance. Beryl going on this expedition is low-key a slap to her face, especially because he was helping her in the last game. Regardless, the two hold a press conference on the ship to explain their plan. Or rather, Blucher's plan. I'ma be real, Beryl looks completely checked out. But guess who snuck their way in? The freaking Bonds! After they found that refractor at the end of Legends, Teasel quit the pirate business to open a department store. That way the fam could earn cash the clean way. But the guy is terrible with money. The store didn't make a lot of profit, and instead of saving the extra money he had, he just spent it on shit he liked but didn't need. So they hit rock bottom again and returned to a life of crime. Now they're working with Glide from the Misadventures of Tron Bonne, the pirate Claymore, and his brother-in-law Bola to try and steal the motherlode. Funny enough, later in the game, Teasel mentions that he fucked up so bad that collecting the motherlode would help him break even. A treasure that can grant unlimited energy will help you break even, bro? Tron. Help your brother out, please. During the press conference, a news reporter who looks just like Roll's mom pulls up and asks them an interesting question. What do they think the motherlode is? Blucher gives the answer you'd expect, and states it's the key to unlimited energy. But Gramps holds his response once he peeps that this is the spitting image of his daughter. Then another news reporter rushes in out of nowhere, saying the Matilda lookalike is no journalist, she's an imposter. Mass hysteria breaks out. But the fake reporter's chilling. She tells them the motherlode is not what they think. It's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Security tries to shut her up with bullets, but she reverse Euro steps off the ship while a flying Reaverbot named Gats rescues her. Elsewhere, MegaMan and Roll are watching everything go down in the flutter. Roll, who was feeling down about her grandfather's actions, immediately snaps out of her funk when she notices her mom juking gunfire like it's nothing. So they beeline it to the Sulphur Bottom, but not before Data almost burns the whole ship down while trying to cook. Back to the giant hunk of metal, Not Matilda notices that her words have done nothing to deter Blucher. So she circles back with Gats to send a warning shot. Unfortunately, the attack does more damage than they expected, and the exact thing the lady tried to stop happens. The Sulphur Bottom crash lands on Forbidden Island. MegaMan and Roll can't join them because of the storm, so they land on the nearest piece of land on the continent of Kalinka. For all my classic Mega Man fans out there, this should sound familiar. It's the same name as Dr. Cossack's daughter from Mega Man 4, except the spelling is slightly different. The first stop they make here is to the junk shop. The hope is that it'll have the parts they need to build a dropship, but when they get there, they find the clerk arguing with someone named Joe. Turns out this guy is Banner, Roll's father. After he and his wife failed to find the motherlode, he was found and sheltered here in Yosionke City. However, he has amnesia, so instead of looking for his family, he ended up joining a new one. Now he goes by Joe and lives with his new partner Maria and her daughter. The clerk is yelling at him because he's trying to go on a dig even though it's too dangerous. But Joe's not hearing it. He tells the man to take care of his family if he doesn't return, then dips. Though she only gets a quick glance, Roll feels like she recognizes him. When she and MegaMan speak with the clerk, he mentions that Joe's also trying to build a dropship. That's too much of a coincidence not to act on, so they go look for him. MegaMan eventually finds him injured in a nearby ruin. After taking down the Reaverbot boss, he rescues him along with the refractor stored here. Back at his crib, Joe reveals that the blueprint to the dropship was the only thing he woke up with years ago. He wanted to build one and enter Forbidden Island to find answers about his past, hence the need to go on that dig. Roll asks him if the name Casket is familiar to him, but due to his amnesia, he has no idea what she's talking about. He'd love to see if going back to the island would bring back any memories, but he's too beat up to leave his bed. So he gives his ship to Roll and MegaMan, saying he has a feeling they were meant to use it. Now it's time to return to the main quest. MegaMan flies the flutter toward Forbidden Island, while Roll completes a dropship with the refractor they found. Once they're all set, MegaMan hops in and ascends towards the island. After he lands, he runs into a couple of Reaver bots, and then finds this huge object resembling a refractor. Interacting with it causes the Reaver bot Rush Mammut to pull up for the ones, but our boy takes care of it no problem. This unlocks a giant object, revealing a man with green hair named Geets and a girl with green hair named Sarah. Watching everything happen from afar is not Matilda and Gats in his human form holding a girl with green pigtails. Turns out this guy isn't actually a Reaver bot, but he's able to transform into something that looks like one. Also, peep how he and the other dude with green hair have Reaver bot-like eyes on their forehead. That'll become important later. Anyway, Gats, who refers to not Matilda as Yuna, states that the Carbons seal their fate by freeing Mistress Sarah. Now Yuna must give her the keys, but instead of responding, she wonders why the Master trusted MegaMan with his genetic code. He was supposed to be a purifier unit, but now he's the most aberrant of them all. It makes Yuna question if the Master saw the Carbons as more important than the system. Don't worry, I know some of what they said sounds like gibberish now, but I promise you, it'll all make sense in a bit. Geets notices Yuna and Gats watching them, and concludes that Yuna won't give them these mysterious keys they keep talking about. So Sarah decides to work with the Carbons. She and Geets enter the Sulphur Bottom and introduce themselves as the Ancients, their ancestors. They ask Blucher and Beryl to find these keys, which they explain unlock the Motherlode. Doing so would give them their infinite energy treasure and save Sarah. Beryl thinks this is sus, but his old friend sees it as a win-win, so he calls on MegaMan and Roll to find them. The last thing Gramps wanted to do was get the kids involved, but Blucher argues that they would have joined the search anyway. Once MegaMan enters the ship, the man begins by hyping him up, commending him for landing on Forbidden Island safely. Then he hits him with the big ask, and MegaMan accepts, but finding these keys won't be as simple as searching through a bunch of ruins. The Bonds and their pirate alliance overheard what Geets and Sarah were talking about, so before MegaMan got here, they dispatched to find the towns with the largest ruins and take them over. Beryl suggests he head to Pakte village on Manda Island first, so he reconvenes with Roll, and the hunt for the 4 keys to the Motherlode begins. Fun fact, there's a girl on this island named Yaito who inspired Yai's design from MegaMan Battle Network, so Legends gave us both Yai and Glide. The first obstacle he faces on the island is Tron, but unbeknownst to him, Homegirl came prepared. She initiates MegaMan Special Plan 3, cut off communication with Roll, then lie to our boy to make him think the girl hates him. Yeah, I didn't really get into it in the last chapter, but Roll and MegaMan are kind of a thing? They're like those old anime friends who promise to marry each other when they grow up. Tron figured this out and attempts to get the poor kid to lose trust in her. She even says his spotter is overcharging him for weapon parts. In Tron's defense, Roll did admit to selling MegaMan's weapons for upgrades for the Flutter. Not as bad as overcharging, but crazy she didn't tell MegaMan about that until after the fact. Luckily, MegaMan calls cap on this whole performance, but Tron has a backup plan. She pulls out a voice changer, then begins gaslighting our boy by acting as Roll, and poor, naive MegaMan falls for it. Regardless, he beats her, and just like last time, she's anime thrown out of her mech. But the else for Tron doesn't stop there. Roll regains contact with MegaMan, and after reassuring him, she starts talking about how she's gonna cook his favorite dinner for him and all that cute shit. As some of the most depressing music from this series plays, Tron overhears everything while still lying face down. Eventually, she crashes the fuck out, hops in her Drake, and dips, leaving our blue hero confused. I'm not saying Tron is right for what she did, it just hurts seeing her this down bad for MegaMan. With that, the hunt for the first key continues. Exploring the Mondo ruins leads him to Bola. The guy's already set financially, so he doesn't really care about finding the keys. In fact, he wants to retire. He's only here to help Claymore. After losing to MegaMan twice, the pirate meets him one last time to inform him that the boss Reaverbot here ate the key. He's done getting his ass beat though, so he just heads home. Claymore can handle things from here. Our blue hero proceeds to take out the boss, then boom, first key get. Once he brings it over to the Sulphur Bottom, they give him his next destination. It's Nino Island, home of the Dig Outers Guild. Yup, just like how there's a Hunters Guild in ZX Advent, there's a Dig Outers Guild in Legends too. Sadly, there's not much to say about them except for the fact that they're Dig Outers who guard the second key. Anyway, MegaMan and Roll head to the fortress that is their HQ, but the guild mistakes them for pirates and shoot at them. Fortunately, they land safely. The Guildmaster pulls up and apologizes profusely. They've been on edge because ever since word about the key got out, Glide has been harassing them with his fleet of bird bots. For that reason, they locked up the ruins holding the key. Then as if on cue, the bird bots raid the HQ. MegaMan works together with his fellow Dig Outers to drive them away. The Guildmaster informs them that they went to Glide's base on Calbania to regroup. So he asks our boy to single-handedly raid it to stop them once and for all. No matter what series we cover in Honest Gaming history, the protagonist will always be asked to do the most by themselves. Upon entering the island, he's met by two kids who desperately need his help. The birdbots kidnap their sister, so with their aid, he sneaks into the pirate base, rescues the girl, and leaves the place to blow. As thanks, they give MegaMan a pig. With the birdbots handled, he returns to the guildmaster to relay the good news. But Glide isn't done yet. He personally leads an attack on the HQ. It's up to our blue hero to hold them off until Roll fixes the guild's secret weapon, which does this.
Roll! It's working! See?
Wait, stop! What are you doing? If you keep that up, you'll...
We did it, MegaMan!
Wow, Roll!
Now MegaMan can finally head into the ruins to get what he came for. There he finds Claymore, who soundly gets his ass kicked just like his brother-in-law. After the bout, he tells the kid to wait till he returns. Psh, yeah, okay. He ignores the pirate and retrieves the second key. Claymore returns, pissed that MegaMan didn't listen, but after fighting him again, he pulls something in his back. Bola's forced to come in and rescue him. With that, Team Volnutt returns to the Sulphur Bottom to get their third destination. It's on Salcata Island. The Bonds have taken over a residential area called Kimotama City, so MegaMan and Roll dip to chase them out and find the third key. As you'd expect from the pirate family, they send the Serb boss to try and slow him down, but MegaMan can take these guys down in his sleep at this point. He shoots his way through them and then runs into Teasel, who's holding the town's super important statue hostage. Only way he'll put it back is if MegaMan lets them do their thing. Also, his mech's name is Blitzkrieg, which is the same name given to a swift surprise attack strategy the Germans used in World War II. It roughly translates to Lightning War. MegaMan doesn't let Teasel's threats get to him though. He takes him down without completely obliterating the statue. But this loss really sucks for the pirate. The defeat destroyed all the supplies they gathered. Now if they don't get the motherlode, they're gonna go homeless. Teasel, stop being a pirate and just sell the mechs Tron makes. Do you know how much a dig-outer would pay for something like Gustav or Theodore Bruno? Doing dumb shit like this is why you're broke. So MegaMan heads into the ruins and eventually runs into Tron and Bonne. Tron is still mad at him, asking if he's still hanging around that second-rate mechanic. But to get to the key, they're forced to work together to stop the volcanic flow in this room. Afterward, Tron calls the truce off and leaves him there. He proceeds to face his place's boss, Woji Gairon. The MegaMan knowledge base states that the name is possibly derived from the kaiju Giron. They don't look that similar, but the way they fight sure is. With that, MegaMan finds the key, but Bonne's sneaky ass rushes in to nab it before him. He chases after the baby, but Tron pulls up to catch another L from my boy. Then he hands one to Bonne, grabs the key, and returns to the Sulphur Bottom. The final key lies in the first place MegaMan and Roll visited, Yosionke City. But Blucher warns that the Pirate Alliance has gathered there for one final showdown. They've outfitted a train with weapons and are threatening to destroy the place if they're not given the keys. But little does Blucher know that the Alliance isn't all back. Claymore decided to take a note from his brother-in-law's book and left. Now it's just the Bonds and Glide. When Team Volnutt gets to the snow-covered town, they reconvene with Joe, who's still bedridden. But with his home safety on the line, he somehow found the energy to equip this place's train with weapons. My man's a goddamn trooper. Sadly, doing that left them slumped. So he asks Roll and MegaMan to take the train and defend Yosionke. When they leave, we watch as he looks at a picture of his old family. He shows that he remembers the fact that he went to Forbidden Island 10 years ago, and states that MegaMan is the one who will help Roll succeed where he and Matilda failed. So does he remember his family? Well, unfortunately, Roll will never get a definitive answer, because this is the last time they interact in the game. With that, the duo heads to their train and find what's left of the Pirate Alliance on their train, the Gemeinschaft, which is German for community. If you remember from earlier in the video, this completes the Ferdinand reference. After the first battle, the Bonds straight up abandon Glide to regroup, but MegaMan won't let them escape. He hands them yet another fat-ass L, and thankfully, this puts an end to the Bond's master plan. I've never been more happy to see bad guys that I like lose. Teasel just kept putting them into more and more debt. For his and the family's sake, he should just take this L and stop. I know y'all still got mechs lying around because you always do, so just do what I said before and sell them shits, bro. But now that they're out of commission, MegaMan heads to the ruins located in Yosionke's church. Then one dig later, the fourth and final key is his. Time to get to the Motherlode and maybe face disaster. Once they make it to the sulfur bottom, Sarah returns to the plot to kick things into overdrive. I told y'all the story was gonna cook in this chapter, so it's time to keep that promise. Under her command, Geats takes control of the ship and begins destroying it from the inside, temporarily knocking MegaMan out. Later, he wakes up with Yuna and that girl with the green pigtails. She assures him that his friends are safe. Then Sarah butts into their conversation, berating Yuna for acting the way she is. They once again say more stuff that won't make a lot of sense now, but hold on for a little bit longer, this will all be explained soon. After the argument, Geats gives the keys to Sarah and tells her to head to a completely different planet dubbed Elysium. For those who may not know, this is the same name that X wants to call his Utopia in one of the X5 endings. It looks like someone actually made it happen. Also, serious question here. Is Elysium a planet? Like, they always describe it as like a perfect world, right? But does that mean they created a whole new celestial body? Or is it like some kind of space colony? Yeah, you know what? Because of Eurasian Space Colony and Mega Man X, I feel like Space Colony makes the most sense. Yeah, I'm gonna just call Elysium a space colony from now on. But of course, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I know a lot of people also called it the moon, but I don't think so. The pictures that they show of Elysium, it seems very, very close to Terra. So I don't think that's safe. I don't think it would be safe for the moon to be that close. So yeah. Once again, this is just an assumption, but I'm pretty sure Elysium is like a little space colony, not a planet, not a moon, just little big ass satellite that looks like a planet. Anyway, on Elysium, the girl plans on starting the carbon reinitialization program. It's pretty much what Mega Man Juno was trying to do, but on a global scale. All the carbons would be deleted in order for the living beings who came before them, the Ancients, to return. Geats isn't trying to have Yuna or Mega Man mess up this plan, so he commands Yuna to get off the ship. But she says that now that she's no longer in her original shell, she's not hindered by her behavioral limits. She can do what the fuck she wants. So she commands Gats to remove Geats from the ship. Then she leaves Mega Man with a choice. He can either defeat Geats and stop Sarah, or let her do her thing and carry out the wishes of the system. He chooses option A and heads out to face Geats, who just finished giving Gats the hands. The Bonds are watching everything go down from afar, and surmise that if Geats wins, no more keys. No more keys means no Motherlode. So they help our boy fight the guy, but the duel ends in one final clash that almost destroys Mega Man. Yuna manages to retrieve his remains, and slowly rebuilds him using data stored in, well, data. In the process, he's hit with multiple flashbacks of the past. And folks, it is finally time for the moment you've been waiting for, as these memories reveal what the hell is actually going on. Alright, so boom. Back when the original humans lived on Terra, they created Elysium. Like X wanted eons ago, it was a utopia free from war, disease, and even hunger. All this was possible thanks to the Master System they built. And it looks like the Master System was their second attempt at this, because there was also an Elder System that was shut down beforehand. The system protected and served the Ancients, but not without the many units who carried out its wishes. At the top of the pyramid are the Mother units. They're androids built with positronic brains who act as supervisors for the system. For those who are unaware, positronic brains are fictional. The idea was originally conceived by Isaac Asimov, same dude who wrote the laws of robotics. This brain is what allowed the robots in his stories to have some form of consciousness. The laws were actually ingrained in them. Sarah was assigned to be the Mother Unit of Elysium, while Yuna was assigned to be the Mother Unit for Terra. One step below the Mother Units are their personal servants, Servitor Units. Geats serves Sarah, while Gats does the same for Yuna. Then there are the Purifier Units, those meant to hunt down the aberrant units who threaten the system. That's Mega Man Trigger / Volnutt. And lastly, there are the Bureaucratic Units. The only one we know of is Juno, so based on his job, we can assume that they were meant to keep the population of specific islands on Terra under control. Speaking of Terra, after the Master System's establishment, the Ancients created the Carbons. They were born with their own language, culture, and everything. The Ancients pretty much just plopped the working society on the planet. Reminds me of some white-haired professor who tried playing God too. Over the next few millennia, even though Elysium was supposed to be perfect, the Ancients began dying. Their genetic code was stored within the Utopia's library. The keys that are said to unlock the Motherlode actually unlock this library. Soon, only one human named the Master was left. This guy was fond of Mega Man Trigger. He called him his little buddy. Sarah used to hate on their relationship because she was jealous, but Master didn't pay her any mind. He and Trigger spent a lot of time watching Terra and the Carbons. Interestingly, he also called them betas, almost as if they were meant to be a test of some sort. The Master grew fond of them because of how they were more human than any of them. They could face hunger, pain, and the other common ills of life. But because of that, they knew what true happiness felt like. His fondness pushed him to straight up go to Terra with MegaMan. He was taken aback by the sounds of the city and wildlife. It got him to make a decision that technically betrayed all the other ancients. See, the most vital part of the carbon reinitialization program is the fact that it clones new humans based on the genetic code of the ancients. It was meant to activate once all the humans died to, I guess, give them another shot at life. But during that moment on Terra, the Master saw just how fucked up that was. You can't just create life for fun, then end it when you want to. So he asked MegaMan to destroy the system in order to protect the Carbons. He died soon after that because his body couldn't handle being away from Elysium for so long. But not before leaving Trigger with a sample of his genetic code. With his mission set, our boy went to do what he was told, but Sarah and Yuna wouldn't allow it. As a safety measure, he created Data to protect his important memories from getting scanned. This explains why Data helped MegaMan get to the main gate in Legends. Since Juno was a part of the system and would become an immediate threat to the Carbons if awakened, he helped MegaMan get to him so he could be terminated. Pretty dark when you think about it, but it makes sense. Eventually, Yuna stopped fighting altogether after understanding what MegaMan was trying to do. But she wasn't just gonna let him jump her fellow mother unit, so she remained neutral. This pissed Sarah off. So she made a ballsy move and challenged MegaMan to one final battle on Terra. Luckily for him, she wasn't able to unleash her full power due to being off Elysium. But even then, the battle ended in a draw, with both units in critical condition. Yuna pulled up to clean up the mess they made. The damage done to MegaMan was so severe that he had to be completely reset, like he had to go back to being a baby. Yuna sealed him and Data on Nino Island, where they'd eventually be found by Barrel. As for Sarah, she was sealed with Geet on Forbidden Island. This event led to Carbons telling tales about two sleeping goddesses who stay on the island. The myth states that the goddess of Earth, Yuna, protected the keys of the land, while the goddess of the sky, Sarah, guarded the gates up above. But one day, the goddess of the sky came down to borrow the keys, so the goddess of Earth trapped her on Forbidden Island. After sealing both MegaMan and Sarah, Yuna remained on the island. When Beryl and Blucher lost consciousness entering the place, she was the one who saved them. When Matilda and Banner came though, she only found the wife. She was dying fast, so Yuna did what she could to heal her. Unfortunately, this expended too much of her energy, so she transferred some of her nanotechnology into Matilda to borrow her body until her own recovered. The plan is to give it back when she's good. That's why we kept seeing that girl with the pigtails. That was her original body. With all of his memories back, he gets one final goodbye from the Master. He says that he's going to meet his true mother, then turns into something that looks like a cyber elf. In the Mega Man Zero and ZX series, and I guess technically the Mega Man X series, these were sentient computer programs. But they also served as the souls of mechanical beings. They might have said this before in like a complete works book or something, but it's possible that this moment inspired the cyber elf design. This completely wakes Mega Man up from his slumber. He's met by Yuna and the rest of his friends who now know about his past. The former mother unit raises the choice she gave him before: follow the Master's wishes or obey the system. Even though his allies could die depending on his decision, they leave it up to him as well. Then Beryl says something that honestly changed my perspective on this whole narrative.
Look in any library and you can find a history of civilization as we know it, but there's nothing describing the world before we started recording events. I always wondered why. Now I know. We didn't evolve. We were created. One day, boom, there we were, with a language and culture provided for us.
This statement not only adds some nuance to the situation, but it also makes me respect how the story of Legends was told. In the last chapter, I complained about the big plot dump at the end. But when you think about the fact that all this history about the ancients was hidden, the plot dump makes more sense. The Carbons were given a false history that they had no reason to go against. It was to the point that they'd make myths about the crazy shit they saw, like the one about the two goddesses. Throwing the player into this world with the same knowledge as your average Carbon adds to the immersion. You're given this false sense of security that everyone around you is human, and what you're doing is just finding valuable treasures. I mean, this is supposed to be the Halcyon days. But discovering that Carbons were basically made to die, and that as Mega Man Trigger, you were just supposed to let it happen, serves as a monumental slap to the face. It hits for us the same way it does for these guys because throughout the whole game, we predominantly saw the world through their eyes. Granted, I think Legends 2 did a better job by hinting at this bigger picture earlier in the game, but still, looking at the series as a whole, I think this is a dope-ass reveal. Anyway, it's time for MegaMan to head to Elysium and end this once and for all. Before he does, Roll tells him that he's the most important person in her life, and that's why she knows he'll make the right decision. With that, he, Data, Yuna, and Gats head to the Utopia. Yuna acts as his temporary spotter to guide him through the place. Then eventually, he makes it to the library. There, he and Sarah have their fated rematch. MegaMan wins the first round, but the mother unit is still standing. Gats attempts to damage her internal systems, but this just kills him. And they don't even make a big deal out of it. The dude basically got off-screened. With that, she enters her second form. But MegaMan prevails again. Doing so destroys the system, thus ending functionality on Elysium. As she dies, Sarah states that the more she followed the system and served the Master, the sadder he became. But now, thanks to MegaMan, maybe he'll be able to smile at her like he smiled at him. Then Yuna walks in like, hold up sis, Gats is dead. You're just gonna leave me here alone? You better stop playing and hop in this shell. So Sarah does just that, and it looks like she's done tweaking. But since her old shell is being used, it doesn't look like Yuna is gonna give Roll her mother back anytime soon. That's the least of their worries though. Since the Master System is no longer functional, the Elder System is kicking in. I don't know how dangerous it is, but they mentioned that remnants of it are within the ruins of Terra. That may mean that Reaverbots are part of the Elder System. Elysium had Reaverbots stationed in its defense area, and a lot of the units of the system that we've seen have Reaverbot-like features. Gats and Geats had Reaverbot eyes on their foreheads, and Juno's second form looked a lot like a giant one. So I think it's safe to assume the Ancients created them. If that's true, it's possible that the Elder System awakening could lead to Reaverbots running rampant on Terra. But that's just a theory. Unfortunately, we're not given much on this system. Either way, Sarah is the only true mother unit left, so she's the sole being that can properly monitor it. However, they can't get back to Terra because Elysium is down. Yuna looks to MegaMan for a plan, and he doesn't have one. In fact, he's not worried about this at all. He just says that he knows Roll will get them. Love the confidence, bro. But if Reaverbots are part of the Elder System, you do realize your friends would be fighting for their lives without you, right? You can't just leave them hanging without their carry. You gotta get back home now. Later, we see that the Caskets, Blucher, and even the Bonds have teamed up to try and build a rocket meant to get to Elysium. So far though, they've barely made any progress. And it's because they're being stupid. See, Data somehow found a way back from Elysium. He's been trying to tell these guys how they can save the homie, but nobody wants to listen because he's a monkey. So the title ends with Data saying MegaMan's gonna have to wait a little longer before they save him. And unfortunately, that kid is still up there because we still don't have a Legends 3. That's one of the reasons why its cancellation was such a big upset. Legends 2 took pretty much everything about Legends and just improved it, especially when it comes to the story. It felt like they tackled this one with more confidence and really hit their stride. To give us nothing after that wild-ass ending honestly hurts. But this story isn't over yet. Legends 3 wasn't just an idea they manifested and threw away. It got so far in development that it had a whole working prototype/demo. So, for the final chapter, let's talk about why we never got the sequel we so desperately wanted. Before we dive in, I want to start by thanking Get Me Off the Moon and Matt McMuscles. Both created amazing videos recapping how the Legends 3 situation went down. If you want the most in-depth look at this, then I highly recommend watching either of their videos afterward. Anyway, though Legends 2 managed to be a solid improvement on its predecessor, it just didn't make the cut when it came to sales. Fans wouldn't get any news about a sequel till 2010, when Mega Man Legends 3 was announced for the Nintendo 3DS. Fun fact, according to an interview Get Me Off the Moon had with Takuya Aizu, there was a time where Capcom wanted Inti Creates to make Legends 3. Their ideas got scrapped, but as a huge Mega Man Zero fan, I'm kinda sad we never got to see what they were cooking. Just like with the first game in the series, the team chose to do things a little differently when it came to development. This time, the voice of the fans, or Mega Maniacs, would be stronger than it's ever been, thanks to the launch of the Legends Dev Room. This was a forum that allowed fans to interact with the game's developers directly. There were multiple events that gave them the chance to vote on the design of the new heroine, propose town Easter egg events, and come up with lore for NPCs among other things. In a panel at 2010's New York Comic Con, Inafune even said they were looking for voice actors or voice actor suggestions. Getting the player base that involved was all pretty new at the time, so I can only imagine how hyped fans got listening to the plan. Along with that, folks could rely on the dev room to be the home for all important development updates. The idea was to create this legendary game together and finally get Mega Man off that goddamn space colony. Now this all sounds amazing, right? Like, who wouldn't want more transparency about a game they've been waiting a decade for? Plus, you could tell all your friends who weren't in the know that you helped make Mega Man Legends 3. Well, unfortunately, shit did not go as planned. In fact, to say this was a mess would be an understatement. The first sign of something up was Inafune's departure from Capcom in October of 2010. Legends 3 was announced in September of the same year, and that New York Comic Con panel also happened in October. To leave so soon after that is kinda crazy. Granted, Inafune left to pursue his own goals, and there is nothing wrong with that. But from the perspective of the fans, shit was terrifying. To your average fan, Inafune was always seen as the captain of Team Mega Man. Who was gonna pilot this rocket everyone was building to save our blue buddy? Well, Capcom quickly jumped in to quell people's fears. Capcom US's Joveth Gonzalez assured folks that nothing was getting cancelled. There were already producers and directors working on Legends 3, and Inafune leaving didn't mean they were gonna stop. However, the hiccups didn't end there. As I said before, this game had a working demo before getting cancelled. This prototype was supposed to show off the new protagonist and give players a gist of what they can expect from the title. It was originally scheduled to launch along with the eShop on June 6, 2011. But get this, it had to be purchased. It wasn't a lot, but even now, purchasing a demo is pretty unheard of. So why? In a post on Capcom's website, the game's director, Masakazu Iguchi, stated that this prototype was what they presented during their greenlight meeting. This means that even though they told us this game was coming out for the 3DS, it wasn't even given the official okay yet. Their presentation ended with the execs liking the new protag, but still feeling unsure about revisiting a series from a decade ago. So they reached an interesting agreement. Have fans buy the prototype and decide whether or not the game will get trashed based on the hype it builds. Capcom really thought it was smart to release information saying this game was coming out, basically take it back, then put everything on the performance of a goddamn demo. Granted, this demo was similar to Rockman-2 Episode 1, so it was technically its own adventure that was much longer than your average demo. However, this was still a very, very odd tactic, especially with how rocky things were already. It's like they were trying to emulate Steam Early Access before it was a thing. Either way, that ultimatum didn't matter since the prototype got delayed, then cancelled along with the full game on July 19, 2011. And to add insult to injury, they didn't even give a clear reason as to why. The post said it was not felt that the Mega Man Legends 3 project met the required criteria. The prototype didn't even get a chance to come out, so what does that even mean? What criteria? In a cringe move, Capcom's European Twitter page stated that the reasoning was because of lack of fan participation in the dev room. Cause solely blaming the community for a game's failure is always a good idea. The account ended up apologizing, but at that point, the damage was done. Since then, nothing much has been said officially about Legends 3. However, the love and dedication fans had for the series didn't die. Multiple campaigns and fan projects were started to try and convince Capcom to give the game a real shot. The channel I mentioned before, Get Me Off the Moon, was part of this movement, and managed to amass 100,000 members on their Facebook group to support the cause. A group of developers from Japan named Jisaku-3 even tried to recreate the prototype in Unity 3D. Honestly, not sure if they're still working on it because the last update I saw was in 2017, but the point is, Mega Man fans around the globe were fighting to make this a thing. What I listed was just the tip of the iceberg. But with all that depressing development history out the way, you're probably wondering what the hell this game was going to be about. Well, thanks to Chris Hoffman, the only journalist who played the prototype, we've got an idea. It was going to follow a new protagonist, the unbreakable, unshakable Barret. And looking at him just makes me more mad, bro. Like, this design is so dope, and he has a motorcycle. Capcom really gave us all this cool shit, and then took it away. Savage. Barret is the leader of the Rebel Rider gang, the Bright Bats. Rebel Riders are a new faction this game was supposed to introduce. They're a bunch of rowdy teenagers who storm the streets on their hover bikes. As you might guess, the police don't really fuck with them. The prototype contained multiple missions that involved Barret going on different quests. The first had to do with the Reaverbot attack on Tiomo City within Click-A-Lon Island. It's up to Barret to protect its citizens and help them evacuate. Hoffman mentioned that he believed this attack had to do with the Elder System's reawakening, and I completely agree. The prototype then introduced players to the world of Legends, as well as some of the other Bright Bats, Max, Pick, Grill, and Barret's spotter, Arrow. Later, the Bright Bats leader enters a hoverbike race. Then after that, he faces Bull Breath, the leader of a rival Rebel Rider gang named the Roast Beefs. So one could say, they finally settled their beef. I'll see my way out. Since the police didn't mess with these rebel riders, there was also a mission where Barrett had to fight off Gonzo Goodwin, the chief of police. And apparently the mech he used was made by Roll. Interesting. The following mission had Barrett go on a dig to find a refractor for the former spotter. She needs it for the rocket ship they're still building to save MegaMan. Also, it looks like Barrett and Barrel were going to have a mysterious connection. For one, as Hoffman stated in that interview, Barrett is a contraction of barrel and casquette. Two, both Barrel and Barrett have metal plating on the same side of their face. Roll even states that Barrett feels like family, and at one point, she mentions that Gramps has been missing for a week or two. So one has to wonder if Barrett has to do with that disappearance. The first thought that comes to mind is that this could be his younger self, but it sounds like Barrett has a lot of history in Tiomo City, so that wouldn't really make sense. If this is younger Barrel though, homie was a cool ass dude as a teenager. Probably why they called him Barrel the... Anyway, the next mission had Barrett help Tron collect her missing Serbots within a given time limit. Then he goes on another dig, which ends with him finding out about the special treasure dubbed Click Laphonica, the fire of all creation. Hoffman believed that this treasure was going to be the focal point of the game, and I can definitely see that. With a title like the Fire of All Creation, it makes you wonder if it has to do with the Elder System. The previous Legends games involved our heroes looking for treasures that actually cause disasters. What if this treasure is the same? Maybe it's seen as this valuable thing, but it actually has the power to fully awaken the Elder System. The final mission Hoffman mentioned involved the boss fight against the fan-created Bonne machine Donner Wells, which is German for Thunder Catfish. The journalist's conclusion from this experience was that the story would center around Barrett and the Brightbats, the Bonds, and Roll racing to get to the Click Laphonica. Not sure why Barrett would be after it, but Roll most likely needs it to get her MegaMan saving rocket powered up. As for Tron, I could so see her ditching Roll to make her own ship, just so she could be our boy's one true savior. Then she'd lie and say Roll was happy he was gone. Though he didn't appear in the prototype, Hoffman was told that MegaMan was going to be playable in the full game. My guess is that after they find the Click Laphonica and use it to save him, the Elder System completely awakens and wreaks havoc on Terra. So MegaMan and possibly Sarah and Yuna team up with everyone to save the world once again. But for now, that's all we know. With no sign of Legends 3 getting the green light over a decade later, it doesn't look like this rocket is going to be made anytime soon. However, who knows what will happen in the future? The MegaMan fanbase is one of the most dedicated communities that I've ever seen. There are a variety of dope fan projects out there, like the MegaMan X8 DMake, as well as an abundance of fan-made sites that serve as the best resource for MegaMan info and news. And this is all being done for the love of this franchise. Not money, not fame, just love. Maybe Capcom will finally see that love, and at least release the prototype for everyone to try. From how it was described, I genuinely think fans would love it. And hey, maybe that could lead to a full game in the future. At this moment though, that's it for the Mega Man Legends story and the main Mega Man timeline. Folks, we have finally done it. That is it. That is the whole Mega Man Legends story and, in turn, the Mega Man timeline summarized. Thank you for tuning in to this, I guess, season finale for the Mega Man Not So Mini series. As I said before, you can expect Battle Network to happen sometime later this year and Star Force following that, but you gotta give me a sec, bro. I'm already privy to the amount of junk that's within the Battle Network story, as in just like random dialogue that's not really important. So yeah, I know I'm gonna have a lot to sift through. So just give me some time to enjoy some other stories, some other video game stories. Soul Calibur is next. If you're into Soul Calibur, stay tuned for that. But yeah, once I'm done getting my fill of other video game lore, I will be back to tackle the computer science Mega Man timeline. With that, y'all already know the deal. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more Honest Gaming History videos or content like this. Don't forget about my other channels, Donchi the Reader for webtoon content, and Donchi64 for video game streams and VODs. Huge shout out to my guildmates for all their support each month, and super special shout out to my S-Rank guildmates C-Det, Descender, and Q Vernie. Thank you so much for all the help. If you don't already know, the Guild is our special little club where I post exclusive content. I got my uncensored reactions there. You get to watch Honest Gaming History earlier than everybody else. You get discounts on merch and a bunch of other cool perks. Speaking of merch, the Kaizen collection. Check it out. It's available. It's on the website. Buy you a shirt. Believe in yourself and achieve greatness. With that, be easy, y'all. Stay lit. I'm not doing my hand thing. Be easy. Stay lit. Stay healthy out there. You look good. And don't forget to smile today. And hey, extra credit. Don't forget to smile today. But if you can also make somebody else smile, you get extra points. Don't have a real point system set up yet, but you know. All right, I'm rambling. Goodbye, y'all. See you guys next time.